2015, I built a multi-million-dollar business so we're in Spring Hill right now. If you go to the Crossings, Target, there's a Starbucks in there, and I started with $200 out of that Starbucks. And I think we were doing like $2.5 million with a company in 2015 with a partner out of Canterbury.
I might have seen you there.
Yeah.
At the Starbucks and Target running a business.
From the business capital of the world, the Big Apple, New York, Middle Tennessee, it says here. Sounds riveting.
Exactly.
This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, a podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals. Mostly.
As usual, thank you, Mr. Matt Wilson, for the big old intro voice for the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast. You can always check out his podcast at Mostly Marketing Podcast. I got the Mostly moniker from his podcast because he's that creative. Just thought it was a good idea. This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast where we have real conversations with Middle Tennessee business owners, professionals, and entrepreneurs. And we hear their stories, we hear their problems, their challenges, all that fun stuff. It is a video and audio podcast. Check us out at MMTBP.com. Such an easy, truncated website to remember. It's better than mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast.com, that's an option too. But try and ingrain it in your brain. MMTBP.com. I am your host, Jim McCarthy with JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com. And it's your show.co, where if you want a podcast like this one, let us know. Go right there. From soup to nuts, as little as you need us to as much as you need us, we can help you with your podcast. That's what we do. With all my breadth of experience in the radio industry, stemming back to, dare I say, 1997. Today's episode, we've got another local, I want to say, a little bit of a celebrity going on. He's definitely got a personality on Facebook, and he's funny. He makes me laugh just about every single day with the stuff he posts. Creating a personal brand. We're going to be talking about the real estate industry, investing, and doing it in spite of a 1.9 GPA. Mr. David Dutton, man, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
One and only, thank God.
Yeah. You and I, like you were saying, we just have become familiar with each other maybe 5 minutes ago.
Right.
We sat down and we're just going. Mm-hmm. So I believe you and I met way back when, 10 plus years ago at the Bridge Church in not in Nashville, in Spring Hill. And you were a member there. Not a member, but you were
we just started visiting and playing around. Of course, Josh Howerton was there, and now he's like super famous. Talk about celebrity. Yeah. He's phenomenal. Yeah. And but we're down that time. We're kind of church hopping, which is terrible. To try to find a church. Yeah, and that was during that time.
I remember you being there. I think were you a part of the band at all for some reason?
Oh no,
not at all. You didn't sing or anything like that.
No, I just showed up.
So getting to you, just a little bit of a background, your story and everything. How did everything begin for you? Where did you get the entrepreneurial bug from? And what's the deal with the 1.9 GPA?
Man, I born and raised in Murfreesboro, went to Riverdale 96. And it's interesting. I didn't know anything about business. Mom ran Haynes Brothers, which is like a $50 million company, as an employee. She's not an entrepreneur or anything. And it was, I just looked at entrepreneurs then as a celebrity. Like I would see the local Melanie Davenport, Cellular Concepts in Murfreesboro back in the day, and see him on TV and like, oh wow, that's amazing. And it was already in my DNA and I didn't know it. Nobody was teaching me business. And then I was bored in school. I thought I was gonna be a physical therapist. I memorized like 200 bones of the body. And so I was not a bad kid, but I was super bored in class. I could tell you what a bull and bear market was at 16. I remember at Riverdale High School, there were 10 books on stockbroking, and I read all those. And I just, I think our education system is interesting because it's, I knew I was not going to do algebra.
Right.
That just wasn't going to happen, and so just learning about that wasted my time. Mm-hmm. And so somehow I made it and didn't have to go to summer school or anything, had a 1.9 GPA. So started there. But then at 20, I bought my first business book.
What were the teachers telling you at that point? Like, did you hear the same thing I did? You know, you're not going to make it if you don't go to college, all that stuff. And
I mean, at high level, they would talk about that, but it was either your blue collar, you know, factory, college, or the Army. And of course, the recruiters there at one point, oh, I'm gonna go to the Army. But like, I would have been terrible. Like my dad was like, they tell you when to pee and everything. And I was just like, no. And I didn't know about personality types, high D personalities, driver, stuff like that I am. I didn't know about that then at 18 years old. But I ended up going to like a community college, but you know, it was just, I was just existing. And then I ended up going to Bible college, but
how did that go for you? Did it resonate with you?
It did. Yeah. I was having a party at my house one time. I was already a Christian. I was having a party and I walked in my bedroom and Channel 5, there was Billy Graham and he was preaching to like 100,000 people. And being a naive kid, dreaming big, I think God put me as a dreamer, like I just think big. I'm not saying arrogant wise, but I've always been like that because there's no preacher like in my, you know, lineage. I met my grandfather, but he was not a good person or whatever. I didn't know him, but he was not a good person, but he was a preacher. But I just thought I could just, I'm going to go lead 100,000 people to Christ like Billy Graham that has been doing this for 50 years. But I just was like, and end up meeting a guy at, in Murfreesboro at Doubletree Hotel, which used to be Garden Plaza. And we were going to go to Bible college together. And 2 weeks before he dropped out, he used to be a former gang member. We're going to go to Bible college together. He dropped out and I'm like, what do I do? And I went to Chattanooga and I went anyway. And I was amazed. I mean, I was getting a degree in the Bible. Like that was like mesmerizing to me, like it changes the world, you know? So.
And then from there, I mean, did you have any, did you learn sales and selling and things like that? What did you do?
So at one point, and I still own this book, it's in my library and here in Thompson Station. I'll never sell it for sentimental value. I hadn't read it in, 30 years. Probably longer than that. Tom Hopkins, How to Master the Art of Selling. It was my first business book I bought in Chattanooga. And in that book, it said to go get a straight commission sales job. I was like, okay. That's what the guy said with a suit on and a book.
Right.
And that's I've written 9 books now. And so fast forward, it's like that authority. I was a kid. He's older. Okay. He's got a book. He looks famous.
If you had a book, man, you have a lot of authority at that point.
It just does. Yeah.
That's commitment.
It just works. Yeah, exactly. So I went home and went to Absolute Wireless in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, started selling cell phones. They were around, but there was a massive wave. This is 98, 99.
Yeah.
And I never forget, this is one of the turning points in my life that I can't unsee, but I had made $1,700 in 45 minutes selling 12 Nextel cell phones to ABC Roofing Supplies, still there in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
2 leather seats. And my boss was like 4 years older than me and went in there. All I do is like program the phones. And I made $1,700, which of course I thought I was rich. And that changed. I've still never been the same because I've done that. I've made, I don't know, like $13,000 in like an hour before now. So it's just, but that was the match.
Right.
And so that's what got me. And I was majoring Bible, but I was studying direct marketing. And then I got Guerrilla Marketing by J. Conrad Levinson, who's passed away, but that changed my life multiple ways.
That was a radio staple.
Yeah. That was one of the first only business books back in the day.
Yeah.
With at Barnes and Noble.
If we only had business influencers and books these days, I mean,
No, I know.
It would be great.
Yeah. So I learned marketing is different than selling. And also there's one little line in there. This is something I learned about myself. There's one little line in there that he says he doesn't work Fridays. It wasn't even about the book. Like it was just a passing sentence in the book that I read that triggered me in a positive way. That time was important to me. Saying I didn't know it, but when I made that $1,700, I didn't work for like 2 weeks because I thought I was rich.
Right.
I didn't know I didn't overthink it and think anything about it, but it was because I just like my time. And I'm still doing that to this day. But that was the first time when I was like, I want to take Fridays off.
Yeah.
Again, no clue what I was doing. Like how my life is going to turn out.
I'm just going to determine that I'm going to have 3-day weekends from here on out.
I just did. And there's an interesting thing. I'm not a big secret. Like I wrote Joe Vitale, who co-wrote The Secret and stuff. He was in the first book I wrote when I was 26. But like, I got mixed, feelings on The Secret. But I will say, I saw myself as a millionaire in my early 20s.
Yeah.
I just saw it. I don't know what that is. I don't know like how God factors in. I don't know, I just saw it, but no clue how.
Right.
I was eating had peanut butter and ramen noodles. I was poor, junky car. Everybody's starting to get normal jobs. I wasn't.
Quote unquote normal.
Yeah, normal. And I just, at some point I knew I'd be successful, but that was it.
Yeah.
I just stopped right there.
Wow. And then from then on, what happened? How did it all progress?
I started learning marketing. 21, 22, started learning marketing. Then online marketing was very new. Like ebooks were kind of weird.
Yeah, before blogs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Before blogs, definitely before blogs. And like it was like hard to even get a PDF. Like we take things for granted now, but even converting a Word doc to a PDF was like a thing. And I started brokering deals. I started reading certain books like J. Abraham's, getting everything out, get everything you can at all you got. Learned about joint ventures, so it changed the way I thought about like if I can find out what you want, I can always get what I want.
Right,
and I do that to this day, like
helping other people.
Steroids. Yeah, I'm known for my connections. Again, I'm not saying this like an arrogant way. I've trained my brain to do that, starting at 21, 22, and so. Then online, so I got online marketing, learned direct response marketing versus branding. And that was like, oh my God. And so I started copywriting, and then some gray-headed guys. Now I'm freaking gray-headed, but like gray-headed guys. When I was 26, a guy named David Fry out of Friendswood, Texas. This is Chicken Soup for the Soul days. And one other person, they kept saying, write a book. And I was like, okay, they got gray hair, they're successful, and they're older. I mean, when I say gray hair, meaning they have wisdom. Like I was just a kid who ended up dropping out of college and was making some money online, just not a lot. Didn't look successful yet. And then I wrote a book, and that was like, I think I sold like 3,000 copies. I got the first copy still in my library.
What was it called?
It's called Internet Empires. It was a terrible looking book. I still look at it and I'm like, that's pretty terrible. But the content's great. Dan Miller, first 48 Days Work You Love was in it. He passed away in December, unfortunately. He's one of my greatest mentors.
Didn't he write
48?
Blue Like Jazz? Was that the same Dan? Or is it Donald?
No,
that's
it must
Donald
be different.
Miller.
Yeah. That may be Donald Miller or something.
Yeah.
But 48 Days Work You Love is what he's known for. And him and Dave Ramsey are buds. They were buds. And,
okay. That's right.
And that's how I heard about him. And then he lived in Franklin, and to this day, he was one of the top 10 mentors. I got to text him right before he passed away. And,
wow.
But yeah, it's stuff like that kind of changed, like, how I thought. But he was in the book, and then like, just a lot of different people. And so people started treating me different. I heard they would, but I didn't know street level. And 9 books later, and I'm like a nobody. I'm not even 400,000 people got my last book, but like, dude, I'm a nobody, but it's enough to where I've made a very good living and continue to do it.
Because eventually you got into real estate, which is what you're kind of doing now, correct?
Well, tax reasons, but 2015, I built a multi-million-dollar business so we're in Spring Hill right now. If you go to the Crossings, Target, there's a Starbucks in there, and I started with $200 out of that Starbucks. And I think we were doing like $2.5 million with a company in 2015 with a partner out of Canterbury.
I might have seen you there.
Yeah.
At the Starbucks and Target running a business.
I started there, and I saw this opportunity, and we taught people how to pay off their home in 5 to 7 years. It sounded ridiculous, and I didn't learn any more skills. Like it was the same person, but like I found the right vehicle. That's a super important thing. You can have the right skills, but wrong vehicle. And we end up, getting like 300, 500 leads a day. And we had about 5,500 people pay us $2,400 to $4,000 for consulting.
Yeah.
And, but 2017, I paid multiple 6 figures in taxes. So this is real estate. So I knew I had to do something because that is terrible use of money, but I only knew what the basic entrepreneur did. Your HSA, your SEP IRA, your deductions, that is it. That's all I knew about taxes. And I didn't know to prepare. That's a whole other thing, preparing, and also like doing your taxes, but like actually like, okay, using certain strategies throughout the year. And so I looked around, and a lot of the wealthy are doing real estate. And I bought my first house on Big Eagle Trail in Spring Hill, right across the street. We had already paid off our house. People are shocked to actually use my own strategy. That's how distrusting people are of people nowadays. People would ask me, "Hey, so are you doing this strategy too?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I mean, we're surrounded by, BS artists
all the time
that are trying to sell courses or funnels and click pages and all that stuff. And it's, of course they're going to ask you that. And proof in the pudding.
It was so weird and rare, like how to pay off your home in 5 to 7 years. And you got a 30-year mortgage and all this stuff. And so people were just kind of shocked, like, about that or whatever. So we paid off our home. We owed like $5,000. We technically didn't pay it off. We owed $5,000.
Yeah. And
then I bought the house 50 yards away from me on Big Eagle Trail in Spring Hill. Paid cash for that. And when I say cash, I maxed out my HELOC and bought that, and I think a little bit from my Edward Jones account. And then First Farmers gave us a $180,000 line of credit, and we bought more houses.
So you just kept on putting all
just rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And then we're doing well, and we're up to 10 houses now. But it's but I used the same formula, but I've lowered my taxes. I had passive income, but I didn't get into it for passive income. I got into it for how can I not pay multiple 6 figures in taxes? Yeah. And that was it. And I still tell
That's people, crazy. It's like you just kind of fell into it just because I needed to escape.
Necessity, a problem. Because just because you're not poor doesn't mean you don't got problems. Yeah. It's different problems. Now I know I'm going to come out with another book on once you make, I got a rich friend, Noah, that's worth, a lot of money or whatever in Boca. And we're going to do a book together on what to do when you start making, I don't know, 150,000-ish or more as an entrepreneur. Yeah. Because there is a window that to like $1 million. If you make 150,000 to $1 million as an entrepreneur, there's other problems that you don't even know about.
Yeah. And your exposure is huge.
Yep. Yeah. And taxes, because Uncle Sam, they're not trying to let people get rich. Right. But if you know the tax code, because the rich write the tax code, if you know the tax code, you can do stuff. We saved one strategy I used. We saved $52,000, $55,000 on our taxes, just one tax strategy. And we use several now. And that's how you keep more money. And then you can go invest more money and you get your money making money. Right. And so, but anyway, I sold that company my half in 2020. Yeah. And bought more homes. And then,
good time to do it. My gosh.
Yeah. I don't know how many, I think we'd buy 2 or 3 a year or something like that. And now it's like a unicorn to find it. The company's called A Good Landlord. And
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Hey, Middle Tennessee electricians, handy women and men, and just those of you needing better commercial LED lighting solutions. Yeah, I know, there's so many of you. I have to tell you, there's another option than just the big orange and blue box stores now. Try j2lighting.com. At j2lighting.com, we have the latest technology in all types of commercial LED lighting, from UFO high base, drawers, area lights, and shoeboxes, right on down to a slimline wall pack that doesn't look like a fist coming off the wall like most other wall packs do. You get what I'm saying, right? Many of our fixtures are wattage and color temperature selectable, which means you have more control over the brightness and appearance in your dark spaces. Check us out at j2lighting.com for a great local source for your commercial LED lighting ideas, even full color light show dreams. Yeah, totally. That's the letter J and number 2 lighting.com. j2lighting.com.
Much like the Mostly moniker of this podcast, I see what you do in the comments, and we're trying to promote our lighting company, j2lighting.com. And
there you go. You just promoted it.
Yeah. And, I just put it out there. And every time somebody has a relevant topic on one of the local Facebook pages, a good landlord enters the chat.
Hey, good landlord is in the chat. So
I might have borrowed that a few times.
I saw you. I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But
that's only validation that it's a fun, good idea. Okay?
It is, yeah. I just
good artists borrow, great artists steal.
That is true. So I got that so I was watching TV one time, and the Ellen DeGeneres show was on like 10 years ago. Yeah. This is a long time ago. And it said a good production company. And I thought, in the credits, I thought that was brilliant because it's not great, it's not arrogant, but good is, it was like, yeah, it's a good word. So we always want to combine ministry and business. I always have since Bible college because I know God wanted me to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And, so I've done that. So when people talk about my company as a good landlord, and that's a thing, people hate landlords. And so I know that. And people will search on Facebook for a good landlord.
Yeah.
Like not my own brand, just the phrase.
I just want somebody who's going to be good.
Yeah, want somebody to be good because they're terrible. They don't fix anything or whatever. So when people write checks, when my tenants write checks, it's a good landlord.
That's hilarious.
So it's always like thinking about that.
That reminds me, my brother was in a cover band in the 90s, I would think. And they were called Slow Children. And every time you saw a traffic sign that said slow children in a neighborhood, it was branding. You made you think of the band.
That's an odd, great name.
Yeah,
like
great name for a band.
It's a stop. It's
totally.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's also a belief statement. It's almost your core value being right out there in the name of the business.
It is. Right? Yeah. I tell people, I want my money, pay my, when I do a thing with a tenant, I want you to pay my rent. But I'm here to help you. If you want to buy a house, if you're ready to buy a house, let me help you. I'm totally cool. Like I can always find a renter. I think everybody should own a house, when you're ready, all these things. I tell my tenants the same thing, but communicate with me. We're business partners. You pay my mortgage. I make sure you don't live in a slum.
Right.
And I'll get things fixed. That's what you're paying for. So,
and I do it fairly and integrously.
Totally. Right. Yep. And that's why people stay with me 2 to 4 years.
Do you have a realtor license or anything?
I need to. I need to. To buy and sell my own homes, but too lazy.
But as far as, also helping them find a home, I mean, that would be advantageous
well, I'd make it my job to know people.
Right.
Yeah. I just know people.
And that's the thing is that, a lot of what you talked about earlier, your direct marketing experience and training, all the different things that you've gone through, the iterations of the evolution of marketing when the internet became a thing. I would imagine a lot of that helps you today. Some of it maybe falls by the wayside, but what kind of stays in the top of your mind? What works the best?
Like, what do you mean?
Just, in terms of what you've learned in the past, going from, because you and I kind of came up around the same time, but I was more of a radio mass marketing type of brain. My books were the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing and branding and stuff like that. But those are just, mass media applications. I remember even hearing one time the notion of permission marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when that came out?
Yeah.
And it's like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
And then you realize, well, no, people got to, give you permission to be on email lists and to market to them.
Well, like direct response marketing is a big thing. I mean, direct response where someone puts an offer out and they give you their name and email address, or they just buy from you, kind of like infomercial, but you can do that. I'm doing that in the mortgage space now. I'm working on another project with a mortgage buddy of mine, and we're doing a book, and people will buy it or they won't buy it. Sometimes you fail too, but direct response marketing and just automation. Obviously, I'm not even talking about AI. I don't even know a lot about AI or anything, but but just automation. I've got these clients in Nashville that I'm making systems. They already make $20,000-$30,000 a month. They're doing good, but there's like so many leaky holes, and it's education-based business. It's a service locally, but I am going in and just automating certain things, writing scripts, and then to free their time up because I've always been like lifestyle. It's always, I think looking back now, that's why I gravitated toward the internet because it leaves footprints. I mean, our YouTube channel got 33 million views when we started it December 2015. And
what was the big idea behind it?
Just paying off your mortgage. Right. I mean, that's what it was. And we had a playlist at 45 minutes and people watched that playlist.
Right.
Cost us $1,000 to do those videos. And they just kept, they were warmed up in a microwave. That's why I would talk about warming people up in a microwave. with your marketing, and then selling is what you do when you're in front of them on the phone or, on a webinar or something.
Interesting way to put it. That's a great analogy.
Because they were warmed up. Like, I hardly ever got on the phone in the early days. My partner would get on the phone. I would try to get on the phone.
Yeah.
And then we started hiring people, but they were warmed up. And I know me being on the book cover, and if I actually did answer the phone, which there's whole other things that I did that I had hundreds of people call me and I never answered, but I still made, I don't know, hundreds of thousands a month, not gross. No, we didn't net all that, but I've got some little tricks that I don't mind sharing on there. That how the sausage is made and people don't know, but yeah, I would get on, and people, if I pressed at all, they would have gave me $4,000.
Right.
And I had the status because, like, oh my God, like, I did not expect to talk to the person that was on the YouTube channel and on the book cover. So I had that going on, but they were warmed up.
Yeah.
Because they'd watched our 45-minute playlist on YouTube twice.
Right. Now I've got questions I want to reach out.
And they're like, I think this works. This is actually legit. Like, and so, but I sometimes I'd be like, all right, you want to sign up? And sometimes I just like, I'm not going to pressure them. I don't high pressure, but like if I pushed and tried to close at all, I could have. Like, and that's what I mean by warming up.
Yeah. Your
marketing goes, this one client I did, they just spent $25 and I've made them like, I don't know, $5,000, almost $6,000. And they spent $25 here locally doing a marketing campaign, but I got them to make a consumer awareness guide.
Yeah.
And we mail out a consumer awareness guide.
Wow.
We mail it out, physically mail it out.
So you're helping other people warm their customers up.
Yeah, I do the same thing I did with Replace Your Mortgage and always do. I got a sweet spot of what I sell. I sell services and people.
Yeah.
And so I'll pick and choose. Like, I know what I'm good at on the service. If you tell me you want to sell lipstick on Amazon, I would give you some tips. Like, here's some basic marketing, but I wouldn't take your money because I'd be like, I don't know. But if I'm marketing, say, your company or my buddy's marketing company or this other service, like, I know what to do.
Yeah. It's funny because, I mean, you're one, like in a fraternity of guys on the local pages here on Facebook that pop up. You know, you got Corey Smith, Lawn Boy.
Right.
Or Yard Boy? I think it's Yard Boy.
Yeah, Yard Boy, yeah.
And because he's been on the pod, I got to get him back on the new iteration because he's always entertaining.
Yeah,
just, you know, there's like comedians out there. You guys you're very funny.
Oh, well, let me answer this. And I'm not looking for a comment. This is totally just, I don't care what you say. I don't care if you said you hated it. Like, I really don't care. Like, not in an arrogant way, just in a gym, like, because we just now met, you know, literally 5 minutes before starting this. Yeah, starting this. So we don't know each other. But I asked this privately to people that I meet online or whatever, and sometimes on the phone, even if it's on the phone. How do I come off on social, just in general? And I'm not looking for anything. Question
always.
Yeah,
I wonder the same about myself because sometimes I get most of the time I get crickets with my stuff, unless it's like, you know, on Facebook I can put up. I think I put some phrase popped into my head the other day, and that got just a ton of comments.
It's weird what hits.
Yeah, I'll share, you know, stuff from the podcast, a clip, and it's like crickets.
I know.
I'm like,
I did a cricket today. Well, I got 4 people on this one post, which is rare for me, but talk about me not wanting to go to the bathroom, and it was persistence. Like, I'm at my peak persistence and determination when I'm laying in bed, in my warm bed, and I'm fighting having to go to the bathroom, and I'm never going to give up unless I have to.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but
that's, I did see that today. Here's the thing. Okay. To answer your question, you know, cause I saw you started like orbiting around my world and my, radar, so to speak. Man, probably about a year ago. And I've known of you. I've known your name and stuff like that from the church, and you just kind of fell off and then you started coming back. It was similar to Brad Lee. Cause Brad Lee was, he's dare I say a friend of mine at this point. He came off like as just, you know, had the bravado, but, you know, and then eventually you're kind of like, okay, it's a little bit arrogant, but over time he wins you over. So same kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Not, you know, not arrogance in your sense, but there's a sense of bravado. You know what you've done.
You could tell like that. That's an interesting thing because I don't know. I am who I am offline too. Like, I always joke around, I wish I was 10% fake because I'd be softer, but I'm just not. And I don't try to, like, you know, I'm not going to drop F-bombs or something, just a shock value. But I like, life is short. I like humor. I love creativity.
Right.
My brain's always going. And all those posts are like just real life. Like I just will have random thoughts.
I get entertainment from it. And I also have a little tinge of jealousy only because I used to have a brain like that. And for some reason, I am just through in a valley right now. Wow. And I don't have a creative idea to freaking throw a baseball at. I don't even know how that makes sense.
No, I think just like going through, that's funny. I think just going through life and, things that happen or whatever, and then it's just saying just wording things differently.
Yeah.
Like yesterday about the eclipse, I posted a comment on iHeart Spring Hill. I think it's like 50,000 some people.
Yeah.
Person said, I accidentally looked up and he said like, damn my eyes or something like that. And then I said, the comment I did was a good landlord enters the chat and said, first, condolences about your eyes. I'm sorry.
Right.
Secondly, if you would like to sell your home that you can't see anymore, then I would like to have a meeting with you. Please get with someone that can read this message to you.
That's awesome. And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about,
Yeah.
It just really makes me chuckle, and I know a lot of people, because you don't get shade or anything like that on your comments.
No, not a lot. No, it's very, very rare. I know there's people that I feel like I'm edgy on real estate agents because I only post inspirational, business, and advertising.
Yeah.
And personal, if it makes sense or whatever. You know, I had anxiety attacks last year. I posted about that. Never had that happen my entire life. And I'm like, I posted about it, and then I got these private messages, and it's not even a flex. Like, because I almost will tell people if I flex, because that's how just my personality. Like, I will give the charity privately. Sometimes I give charity outside because it helps business. Like P.T. Barnum, one of my favorite. I collect rare P.T. Barnum books, and he said, I like charity, but I like profitable charity more.
Yeah.
I do both.
There was one post that you had put up maybe about 6 months ago. And it was one of those things that it stung, but I knew exactly where you were coming from.
Oh,
especially being that, in what I do for part of my profession, being podcasting. You said, no one cares about your podcast. I'm like, that stings, but you're absolutely right.
It's just fact. It's not, I'm a messenger. It's just fact. And I'm sitting here doing a podcast, but it's true.
Yeah.
And I even talked to you about even doing this podcast.
What are we going to talk about? What are we going to cover?
Because I want people to see it.
Yeah.
Because I can't get my time back.
Yeah.
You can't get your time back.
Right.
And so I think I see these people posting clips of podcasts, say on Instagram, and they're running ads to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
And you got to start somewhere. And maybe they're known in some niche or whatever. But it's like, it's just a sexy trend that people will do. I think they work. I'm doing podcasts. I'm going, not like, I'll be interviewed if somebody asks me or whatever, but meaning like, I'm actually, when I get done here, I'm interviewing someone and I'm only going to do 20 episodes and that's it. Yeah. And it's very specific on case studies in the mortgage business or whatever. That's exactly, all I'm doing.
Right.
And so I think it's all strategic because we're doing video and audio, putting it on a playlist. And so when my buddy drops things that people find, like a certain model in the mortgage business, they find it unbelievable.
Yeah.
You drop the playlist of 20 people, a preponderance of proof.
Yeah.
20 people that are succeeding at it. Stories sell, facts tell.
Yeah.
And so you see how I'm using that podcast? I don't give a crap if it's on iTunes.
Right.
I don't care if anybody else listens, unless you're a mortgage loan officer thinking about doing the P&L model instead of retail. And so it's all it is to back up the statements of like, I don't know what to tell you. You don't have to believe me, but here's a playlist of 20 people doing exactly what I'm telling you.
Right.
Go study it.
Well, you've identified the audience, which is something that a lot of podcasts have trouble doing.
Yep.
A lot of the conversations I have with clients that want to start a podcast is, well, I know I want to do, I'm insurance. I want to do an insurance podcast. I said, okay, is it for general audience, or you want to attract other agents, and because otherwise you're going to bore the tears out of people.
Totally, nobody wants that.
Right.
Yeah.
And he says, well, I'd really like to attract clientele. I said, okay, well, what else are you interested in?
Bingo.
And one guy told me, he says, I'm interested in bow hunting. I said, oh my gosh, dude, can you sell nationwide?
Right.
Yeah. Do you have products that attract hunters and people that do that? I do. Okay. do a bow hunting show that's powered by your insurance company.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's super creative. And you got to think about how you get white noise. I'm wearing my hat, my $3,000 hat.
Right.
And
which that means, and I'm going to see if I can regurgitate it.
Yep.
That means that if I help you find a house to buy, I get $3,000.
Off market.
Nice. Off market house. So not
house.
on MLS.
Not on MLS.
Okay.
And so that's my pitch. I put, that's one of the comments I post locally, but I wear this $3,000 hat, and we buy crack houses, normal houses on the back of my shirt. And so I walk around Spring Hill, and people will stop me and like, oh my God, like,
you're that guy.
Yeah. There's that. And so, but every now and then somebody would pay $1,000, like in my investing world.
Yeah.
But it's rare. Mm-hmm. But I went above and like, I'll pay $3,000. That's like, my attention.
Yeah.
And that's all that is. This is attention.
Yeah.
It's to stop the coma, to get them out of their coma they're walking in, because everybody's walking in a coma.
Right. Stop
the coma and look at it and like, wait, what?
That's what we call a surprise broca moment in radio. Surprise broca. Broca is the area of our brain that filters out all the crap.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yes.
That only lets stuff through that's relevant. This is interesting. Pay attention to that.
Oh, see, I love that, because that's what books do. That's what advertorials do. You do stuff like to get attention. Like, I posted, like, there's a great movie called Mending the Line right now.
Yeah, it is a good movie.
Yeah. And so I liked it and started following the page. And then I saw Josh, I can't think of his name right now, his last name, but Josh pull up on the director. Mm-hmm. So I just started messaging him. I had Daryl Strawberry at my house. I don't even remember. Yeah, I had Daryl Strawberry at my house a couple of years ago. I didn't have connections to Daryl Strawberry.
You and I are alike in that sense, where you just kind of, if you're not afraid to ask.
I don't really care.
Right. Mm-mm. And that's how a lot of people ask, I got Ivan Meisner on my podcast once upon a time. Dude. How did you get him? I'm like, I asked him. I reached out on LinkedIn. I said, hey, I'm in one of your chapters here in Middle Tennessee, the Williamson County chapter. We're a pretty big chapter, yada, yada, yada. I said, I'd love to have you on my podcast. Within 5 minutes, he said, Color Me Cooperative. When do you want to do it?
Man.
And you just never know.
Dude, that's a big one. Yeah.
I keep on forgetting to talk about premonitions I have on this podcast. At some point, I think that Dennis Quaid is going to be a guest.
Dude, I don't know what that is, but I just think you just see stuff. Like, this is I just have a 1.9 GPA, so my intelligence only goes up so much, but there's something to that. Like, here's Joshua Caldwell. I'm messaging him, that director of the movie. Yeah. That's a top 10 on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
And I'm working to get him in Nashville. Well, that's attention too.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I genuinely love the movie and I think he did a great job. But also, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking on him, we do an event and raise money for veterans.
Oh, right.
And I don't care about the money.
Right.
Like, I'm just wanting to have a good time.
Make connections.
Yeah. You see how that's from Jay Abraham's book.
Yeah.
When I was 22.
Yeah.
And I've made my brain like that for 20 years.
You don't really care about there's any, what's in it for me. I mean, there's connections in it for you.
Yeah. It's long term.
Right.
Like my wife and I are going to have these spaghetti dinners called,
I saw those. Those are brilliant, dude.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You're more welcome to come. It's called the Dutton Dinner Experience. And I took Jason Gaynard's book, 50 Mastermind Dinners, which is a phenomenal book. He has 50 questions in there. So when I do certain events and when I'll have a couple couples over, it's all strategic. I really put a lot of thought into my network. And like, I've taken one of those questions and we can fit we're going to fit like 12 people, 14 people counting us in a kitchen. And so we're making homemade spaghetti. And it's free. We're going to have paper bowls and forks. It's not fancy. You got to show up on time, period. And you got to bring wine to show up. And then once you come once, you can invite someone next time. Mm-hmm. And it's the only time you can do that. And so, but it's not business. Yeah. But I'll benefit business-wise eventually. But it's not business. It's how I connect with people. So I'm going to ask one question to the group. And whoever wants to answer and add, they can. But it's not surface talk.
Right.
Whatever. And so I'll do stuff like that.
You did something around the holidays too. There was something that comes to mind.
I do. I do a $100 tip dinner, lunch, usually lunch. Every year, I think we've done it 3 years now. And I like that. It's really cool. We did it. I try to do local in Spring Hill. And so we did at this golf course that they redid the restaurant. And these two girls had no idea. They actually thought that we were like head honchos of the restaurant from Chicago.
Oh.
And show up, and then I was like, "Hey, can you help me And we gave them like $2,600.
Wow.
Yeah, I got good friends. Like, it's not me. I just like, hey, we're doing this, and come meet some cool people. Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
When I had Daryl Strawberry, funny thought is, people think I go to all these meetings. I don't meet a lot of people.
Right.
I'm just very strategic about it. If somebody wants to meet for coffee, depends on who they are. I'm not better than anybody. I do not think that at all. I don't struggle with that at all. But I don't like wasting time. You just truly
think differently.
I just think different. I don't want to waste time. Now, if you want to pick my brain, I usually will do a 20-minute call with somebody because I'm not successful on my own. I'm not like, oh, look at me. Like, I'm not at all.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, people even that don't even know me, they just know me from Facebook, know I'm connected. And it's an odd thing. I tell my wife about it. I'm like, it's a very odd thing because I'm so strategic about it. But I'll say this one thing on Daryl Strawberry. To come to Daryl Strawberry a few years ago to my house, I could fit 40 people in my living room and kitchen. And I invited the most influential 20 people in Franklin, Spring Hill area.
Right.
Mayor and newspaper people and all that stuff. They're already friends of mine. Most successful, good people. Mm-hmm. And I said, you can come, but you got to bring wine or beer and the most successful person you know that's a good person. Mm-hmm. I hate douchebags. I hate like arrogance. I hate that type of stuff.
So I can't imagine that you're on social media much browsing these days.
No. Yeah. And so like I went deep with my 20 and now met 20 other people. And now I have 40 people that are like-minded in my house. And it's a one-to-many activity. Yeah. And I gave them experience that people still talk about 3 years later.
Let me ask you this, because going back to your point about, you said douchebags and, you know, morons. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them out there. And I've been noticing a rising trend or a bubble, if you will, of people that are starting to not buy into people like that, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a nature of the two. Like back in 2014, 2015, I was introduced to Gary Vaynerchuk, one of the earlier business thought leaders, right? Yeah. And the OG. Mm-hmm. He's a relational guy. His whole approach is all relational. Mm-hmm. Because of my experience in the car business, I also gravitated towards Grant Cardone, who's heavily transactional, right? But still a relational guy, yeah. But he's also got 50, 40 some odd years of business experience behind him. He knows he's got the stripes and the clout. Same thing with Gary, but two different stripes of a similar animal, right? Are those people typically differentiated in your mind that way, transactional or relational?
I think everybody, I don't look at them any different. I think everybody, because I look at personality types. Yeah. I just study people because like I just network and things happen. Yeah. And so you got high D personality types, which I am. They're less emotional. I mean, and you're going to have varying degrees and stuff, but some high Ds will cut through people and they don't even care. So they have high churn of their employees. Yeah. And I think it's terrible. One, just as a good human, if somebody says they love God and they're a Christian, I think that's terrible. But it all depends. But some people gravitate toward that. I just bust it on because, I bust it on. I'm not afraid to talk about certain things. I don't do political, that type of thing. But I busted on these like alpha male, $18,000 alpha male camps. Right. And it's fascinating that people go to that stuff. They're serving them, the middle class, upper class, people paying $18,000 to get called a POS and, and for a weekend, and to be a better father and a human is like, bro, I'll do it for 15, come to my house. Like
I'll berate you for the whole weekend for 12. What the heck?
I'll go to Home Depot, get me a hose pipe and like spray you in the face and tell you your POS. And then I'll do that for 15. And so, but there's something missing in their DNA. We all have these weaknesses. I do too. We all do. We all have these things, but there's something in that DNA of people that they gravitate toward that. So everybody gravitates toward different. And
that's, I could totally see that because there is a bunch of people out there that are, doing sales training. I believe that Cardone going into real estate as of late, heavily, has left a vacuum, a void open in the sales training portion of what he's doing. He still does with Cardone University and stuff like that. But there's another guy that's come in and is like filling the void as of recent. And he body shames people in his...
Are you talking about a really in shape bald guy?
Yeah, and we'll just say Andy Elliott.
Yeah. I thought it, but I couldn't. I had to stop.
Right. And I would imagine, credit to you. I kind of take it with a grain of salt, but I also see what he's doing.
It gets my energy. I
And that's what he wants to do.
He does.
Yeah.
And when you step back, I always try to live my life like I'm outside looking in.
Yeah.
And, but it's like that energy, like I'm so big on energy. I finally had to unfollow. He's not wrong on stuff.
No, he's not.
He's not wrong on stuff.
No, he's trying to be shocking. He's a modern day shock jock.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
And I like that. I mean, I'm P.T. Barnum. I painted Epstein Didn't Kill Himself on one of my homes, and sold it. And then we got over 1.2 million views, 24 hours. That was shocking. I'll do that stuff, but I can't be that person, teach their own.
Right.
Because I'm just like, I'll tell people, but I'm just like.
I'm just trying to put the notion out there. Get the first impression of the muscular guy with the tight shirt.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what's falling out of their mouth. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Pay attention, because not all of us are going to look like that. My business partner, I always talk about, we're trying to put him out there as a thought leader of sorts.
Right.
And he's got a lot of great ideas. He's got good, sound business principles, and he's able to simplify things in a manner that most business owners need to hear and make understood that it doesn't need to be complicated like these other guys portray it to be. And a lot of guys who are portraying it that way the biggest problem I have are people speaking on things they shouldn't be speaking on because they don't have the clout. They don't have the mileage.
I know. That makes me sick.
Yes.
But I'll tell you on the confusing thing, they'll make it confusing because they want to sell you the solution.
Sure. Right. And I get that.
Yeah. And that's
And I think that's like the difference, like a Vaynerchuk approach is like, I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give you value, share what I know. Here's what's worked for me, so on and so forth. Cardone on the extreme end is also, well, I'm going to do the same thing, but hey, bye.
I would argue, and I think you're right about that, but I would argue Gary is trying to sell anything. Now, he's got like tons of money now.
Right.
But nobody wants to be in the club they can get in. Mm-hmm. And so everybody wants to be in the club they can't get in. And having that approach, like, I don't really care.
Right.
Is actually persuasive. It took me, I had to learn that. Yeah. 2008, I remember when I learned it. 2008 is when I learned that, like, street level. Like, I knew the head knowledge, but I used it on a guy in St. Louis, Missouri. I never forget. That's how life changing for me. I remember when I learned that sales tactic.
Right.
And then also, and it can be truthful too. Like, I don't have an agency, but I take on clients, but I don't really care for multiple reasons. Like, I just hey, I pick and choose what I like to do. If I can't help you, I will tell you.
Right.
But I don't try to do hardcore just because of my philosophy of,
You're just you.
Just you. I mean, there's a God. I care about people. There's a God, and I just want to do the right thing. And it's not trying to be an angel, because I'm not. I'm impatient and all that. But I'm just like, here it is. I'm not cheap. Yeah. I told a guy the other day that has messaged me multiple times about free stuff. I was like, man, I don't got time for free.
Yeah.
To him. I've done that to other people. There's a 20-year-old kid the other day that reminded me of me. He wanted to know how to get mentors. And I was telling him some stuff. He'd call me. I helped him actually land a job, which is kind of crazy connecting, because he was on iHeart Spring Hill trying to sell Facebook ads. And I reached out to him and I got to talking to him. I'm like, you don't really know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to him, and I was like, how old are you? You sound young. He's like, man, I'm 20. I was like, all right, let me just give you some advice. Because you're going to take somebody's money, not because he was bad.
Yeah.
He called me the other day and wanted some more advice. And I said, look, if you're not going to pay me my $250 an hour, if you're not going to pay me, and I wasn't a jerk about it. I'm talking to him, more blunt telling you, but I was giving some business books. I was like, hey, these are the staples that the foundations. If you're doing entrepreneurship 101, these are 5 books that'll make you money.
Yeah.
And I said, tell you what, go read Dan Miller's 48 Days of the Work You Love first, because he didn't know what he wanted to do. He's 20. He don't know the path. So I said, go read that. If you're not going to pay me, you go read that. Do not call me until you read that book, or listen to it. I don't care how you do it. Listen or read to that book. Then you can call me and get free advice, because I want to give him free advice.
Yeah.
But if I'm not getting paid for it, you need to work for it, because I want you. It's like my daughter.
Yeah.
I'm like, you ain't just getting our rental homes.
You got to earn it.
Yeah. You're not just, you see how we live. You're not going to just get her rental homes. I love her, but I want her to I want her character.
Yeah. Well, that's the instilling the grit. And you're also kind of teaching the guy, okay, here's a path I followed. So here are the building blocks to leading up to our conversation.
I need her to be like when Rocky was hungry, when he won that Rocky 3 or 4, when he won the competition, came back, he was doing photo shoots during his training in the ring, and Mickey was like, "What the hell is this? What the hell is this? Man, you're going to get jacked up." "No, man, I'm sorry," whatever.
Yeah.
And he had to get back what I call chasing chickens.
Yeah.
He had to get back to chasing chickens.
What they called the eye of the tiger.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
because he lost it.
That's what I want my daughter to have. And so I try to make sure, and once you get comfortable, all the, the wolves are still trying to get you off the mountain.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, you got to be hungry.
Yeah.
Go eat it.
Go after, and it's finding out who they are. Mm-hmm. I tell my kids, I say, your 20s are for finding out who you are.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody else tell you or pressure you into making, decisions about where you want the trajectory of your life at 17 or 18. And you got to pick a major and got to go to college. It's not for everybody.
No,
my oldest daughter's at that age right now. We're looking into colleges, but I made it, very well known to her. You're not going into debt for it. I mean, you're going to be 18. You could choose that route. I'm going to vehemently tell you, do not do that.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it.
It's terrible.
Yeah. I gave him
up.
And it's like, look, if I had a mentor at that age, which I don't think I did. My father did the best he could,
There's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
they didn't know what they didn't know.
He didn't know what exactly,
I mean, I don't blame my parents. I'm jealous on some of my friends, but I'm like,
right.
My parents didn't know what they didn't know.
Yeah.
I can't be mad at them.
What are your favorite hangs here in town? I love the fact that you'll post and be like, "Hey, I'm over here if you want to come join me."
Yeah. I'm always networking. My boy owns a spot. So I like that up the street. I'm lazy. So I only stay on my side of town usually. But I when I get bored in my house, I'll go to Just Love. I always say I'm drinking everything alcoholic on there. And of course, they don't sell anything alcoholic, but I always say that just for attention. But so I get there in 18, 19, I'm hanging out and stuff. And and then spot hamburgers sometimes. I get bored by the time the weekend gets here. My wife wants to stay at home.
Yeah.
And so I'll just go sit at the bar, and his hamburgers and onion rings are phenomenal. Like,
over at 18, 19?
Oh, no, the Spot hamburger.
The Spot, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, it's just so freaking good. And so I'll just sit there and talk to him. He's really cool because Caesar, him and his family own Oscar's Tacos, the famous Oscar Tacos around here that he owns like 5 locations. He's Oscar.
I think I met him in Nolansville once. I think he had a place out there too.
Yeah, and he's got brothers that own him. And yeah.
So anybody you follow that you recommend to people, social media influencer wise, or even local here? Who's your favorite flavor of the week?
I don't follow a lot of people anymore because I have so much knowledge that I still need to implement.
Yeah.
And I study all the time. And so it's very, very niched for me. Like I just bought a product yesterday from Alan Sultanic, super nerdy, like under the radar guy that most people don't even know on this planet.
Yeah.
He has a Facebook group called Nothing Held Back.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal, but he's done millions and millions and millions of dollars. He's legit. So I bought his course on, I guess it's like a funnel, but it's like his formula, but it's legit. And so it's very, very niched on how to do something. Like Instagram, I've done some stuff on Instagram because I had 3 pictures on Instagram. I'm still trying to get the car on the road because I'm not a big Instagram person.
Right.
But now I'm like, okay, I'm going to pick one platform. So I'm going to run Facebook ads, but I'm going to get people to connect with my content, have 100 videos out of like, let me see who this guy is.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it there. It kind of piggybacks off of my Facebook ads. Like, I don't know who the hell David Dutton is.
Right.
But they opt in, they go to my Instagram, and there's only like maybe 10 or 20 things on there now, but eventually there's going to be at least 100.
Yeah.
And they'll binge it and be like, oh, and they form the story. They're
going to make an impression.
They're going to make an impression.
Getting back to your point of how you come off.
And it just fills in the blanks.
Yeah.
He just fills in the blanks and stuff. And like, oh, he's not going to steal my money.
Right.
He's a nice dude. And he loves marketing and he's connected.
Oh yeah.
So
how do you think you come off?
Good question.
Getting back to that question before.
How do I think I come off?
Yeah.
Probably confident, a little sarcastic. I don't think about this question a lot. This is a great question. Cause it's funny. I just want to know what people like and perceive. I hear the funny thing.
Yeah.
And then I don't embellish what I know, but I think about it. Like people will say I'm a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot. just because I think God gave me a photographic memory, even though I have 1.9 GPA, which I joke around about. It's real, but not dumb, not the smartest person in the room, but like I study a lot. And so I hear that, but mostly just the marketing, advertising, and a good person, which people, will say, which we are. I mean, we picked up a hitchhiker on Thompson Station Road, like 2 miles away. Mm-hmm. I didn't post it on Facebook, but my wife and I and daughter picked up a hitchhiker, and last Sunday, like Easter, whatever.
Easter,
Easter. Just walking down Thompson Station, a main busy road around here, like 2 miles or a mile up the road from us right now.
Yeah, right up there.
Yep. And we picked her up, and I didn't tell anybody about it. I'm telling the podcast, but it wasn't a Facebook post. But we do stuff like that. But we also do, I'm hopefully going to do my first citywide, a good landlord sponsors a good costume party. And it'll be citywide because I want to have a standard massive charity event, and it's all for charity. I don't care about the money.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll dare ask, I don't think I'm that huge of a personality, but it is very good to know in a very raw way how one does come off. So based on what you know of me and what you've seen, how do I come off?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. I'll get back to you on that.
I really need to put a lot more of my stuff on the local pages. I do when it's pertinent, when it's relevant. If somebody is actually, like I just recently had Matt Rogers on, we have a lot of clips from out of his episode, and he's a Spring Hill resident. He's a Titans PA announcer.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
And I need to have him. I just keep on forgetting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm so hesitant about posting my own stuff on Facebook.
Well, you got to be your best promoter.
I know.
And marketing. You could have a cure for cancer, and if nobody knows about it, like how you going to help anybody?
The other thing is that I'm also posting the J2 lighting stuff on my own personal. I take it from the page and cross post it. So I'm confusing the market. You know what I mean? A little bit. But at the same time, Corey Smith did that he was an Advocare. He did,
I remember Advocare.
Yeah. Barbecue, the bacon, and then he does a lawn mowing. So, I think it can be done.
How you want to come off? So I wrestled with my identity after I sold my company, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I knew I was going to do real estate, but real estate for me is like boring. And so, but a good landlord is my take on, I can do marketing and in my real estate, because most real estate investors don't have a brand. They're just kind of unknown, under the radar, which is fine. But most of my houses have been bought because people know me.
Yeah.
And so the more people that know me, and so they see me, like I'll go to the gym 6 days a week. This is a gym shirt.
Yeah.
Or the 6 days a week, I have 6 different ones. And
that's what I love about you, is like similar to my business partner, doesn't give a crap about how he looks.
No.
And it's funny because he just spoke at a Spring Hill Chamber event not too long ago. The first 2 speakers were fantastic, but he got up and like captivated everyone. And I told him, when you start speaking, you need to dress how you normally dress and say, okay, you guys see me dressed like this. I'm wearing flip-flops, probably cargo shorts, whatever shirt I had on this morning. So whatever I say has got to be good.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean? I think if you have it, I've got a buddy that has 68 homes, in Murfreesboro, and you would never know it.
Right.
Like he's really outgoing. He's actually almost more outgoing than I am, but like you would never know it on that. But you just don't care. John Mayer Builders, you know, like he is famous around here. I mean, we built 1 out of 5 homes in Spring Hill. He's famous for showing up in jeans and a black t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like he don't care.
That's his thing.
And he's humble. He's like, I talked to him like this week, and he's a humble guy. I did a millionaire dinner at the Castle on 840, and had 10 or 12 millionaires in there, and he was there, and just normal and that type of thing. But yeah, I think back to your stuff, how you want to come off.
Yeah.
You just decide. I decided I want to be known for marketing and real estate.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I like to talk about, in Bible or whatever. But like just business wise, marketing and real estate. Like I'll do marketing, until I'm 90 years old or whatever.
Right. That's just part of it. It's your purpose.
Real estate is just the way to get rich. I don't know what to say. Like it's boring, and I'm okay. I tell my daughter, it's okay, boring. He said, "Do you see this meal? This is bought from a late fee."
Right.
Did you see me go to work? No. I took my money out of my active income, my business, and put it over into real estate because, not going anywhere.
It's crazy because, I mean, knowing how one comes off, and I'm so sensitive to it, you know, but then I got to think about, like, even the David Miller, you know, him, Miller's Thrillers. Yeah. He's a real estate investor. He's a real estate agent. He owns property that he rents out as well. And he does Miller's Thrillers, one of the biggest haunted attractions in, you know, this whole
he's
area.
A crazy personality. He's a good friend of mine. He's a crazy personality. And he owns escape rooms.
Yeah, escape room as well. I need to keep that in mind when I do this stuff, you know.
With what, your stuff?
You know, because my thing, because of my radio career, I'm a podcaster. This is Radio 2.0. This is my natural gravitation of what I know how to do.
Well, anybody,
and I hope I do it well, you know.
Anybody on your personal can be your target. Yeah, like, or at least for mine, you know, marketing or real estate, you know, I mean, most, I do have people that don't own a business, but for yours, if a lot of your personal people are not into lighting, then I would not post lighting.
Right.
That would be my only thought on your stuff.
I'm trying to do the Bill Yuss approach to that.
What did he do?
He posted once a week on all the different pages, just once, and built himself a personal brand that was
fast,
unbelievably powerful.
He delivered on his stuff.
Right.
Like he delivered on the garage doors.
Exactly. And he built a tremendous business based on the integrity of who he was.
Yeah.
And if you ever dared speak ill of him, the rest of us would pile on and make you feel the pain.
Yes. That's exactly what happened.
Man.
Mike Fusel is one with the tree service. Now, I said I don't recommend him. He was 6 months out.
Yeah.
Like you can't even like hardly get him. And he's only one man. He don't want employees, but he was the same way. Like people would do this stuff, but now just think about, you know, who your people are and what you like to talk about.
Yeah.
And that's what I would focus on. What do you want to be known for?
Yeah.
But you could do other stuff. Like I'm doing this mortgage project with, my buddy, Tim Davis. And
oh yeah, he's a trainer, mortgage trainer.
Yeah. Mortgage trainer. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing this with. I'll post about it but because I have mortgage people in there, but it mostly will be marketing in general. That's why I will post it.
Yeah.
It's marketing in general, but it'll be a book on that. But it's about marketing. So it's like, you know, I'll post about advertising, but sometimes I'll share like why things work or what I'm doing. Here's a strategy that I used, but it's all like marketing, even though it's a niche and 90% of people won't be able to use it. There's a lot of people that use it, you know, because you don't have to be in mortgages to use it, but they might not buy the book, and that's okay.
Right.
You might talk about, you know, if you're talking about small business and things, you might talk about your lighting company, but it's like, hey, here's something we do. We have these thank you bags we send out every time somebody does it, and they're black, and then here's why they're black, and blah, blah, blah. You know, like you can talk about your business like in a creative way.
Yeah.
And like, you know, kind of promote it, and maybe somebody knows somebody, you know, call out who you want to target. Yeah, we do lighting for these, you know, electricians or, you know, whatever.
Well, if you've been to a car wash recently, there's a likelihood you've seen our lights. So
that's amazing. So crazy. And it's amazing what people do for a living. I love that.
Well, how do people find and follow you, man? Well, let me first ask you this. Nobody cares about my podcast until you make them care, until you put it out enough, right?
That's
it. Which is the qualifier to that.
Yep.
What'd you think? I mean, did we do a good job?
Man, dude, I love it.
Honest.
No, I'm always honest. It's first of all, the quality is amazing. Really cool studio. The conversation was great. I liked the conversation. It was really good. And I would just say, like we talked about the other day, just have like, it's kind of like when you write an email, you only have the subject line and the name.
Yeah.
That is it.
That's it.
So like if nobody knows,
you got a surprise broker in the subject line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got to do that. So it's like, okay, how do I get them to open? Same thing with a podcast. You got to like, what can make them
pay attention?
Yeah.
Now, have you ever heard of the Wizard Academy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Roy
a long
Williams?
time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever been?
No. I had heard about it years, but that was old. Like I remember.
Yeah.
They've been going on a long time.
They're still doing it, man. There's a lot of good cerebral stuff they cover that it blew my mind. Which I'm not sure if that's saying much, but you know, the trilogy of books he wrote, The Wizard of Ads, I still read them to this day.
He's that guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Roy H. Williams.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Prolific. He's got a podcast called The Monday Morning Memo, which he started back in like 1996 as an email.
I remember like when the internet marketing was new, the online stuff, and people were talking about the Wizard of Ads and the Wizard Academy.
Yeah.
But
I would highly recommend taking a class down there. You'd
That's
probably
cool.
really enjoy it.
Oh, I love that stuff.
But anyway, how do people find and follow you, man?
If they're bored, they can go to the David Dutton, or I think it's called Real David Dutton on Instagram. I post a little bit on there. Just go to daviddutton.com and click on small business or click on real estate, whatever you're interested in. I teach people how to do real estate. I actually do real estate. I don't just teach it. I actually do it. People know that. And just daviddutton.com. And then you can, as long as you're not a weirdo or anything, follow me on Facebook, like my personal Facebook page. Hopefully we got some mutual friends, but I'm teasing, come check out my stuff. And, I just like to have fun. Life is short. Yeah. And so a lot of my stuff is just funny, humor, business, that type of thing.
Absolutely. So well, there you go. daviddutton.com. You'll be able to find all the pertinent socials there. Make sure you check it out. All the details will be in the description. And of course, our big, hairy, audacious goal, which I always forget to mention on the front end of this thing because I'm mentioning so many other things. We're always looking for that 10,000 average download number over an annualized basis. We're a long way off, but hey, this is why we keep on doing it. It's all about consistency and putting stuff out on a regular basis. So that's what we do here at the mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast. Check us out at MMTBP.com. Share, subscribe, like, review, all that fun stuff. And if you know somebody who would be a good fit for the podcast, there's a link on there as well that you can fill out an application form of sorts. David, again, pleasure to meet you and finally make your acquaintance.
Yeah, it's awesome. We got to hang out more.